Now we should be underway.
All the microphones off, please, apart from mine and Sally's. Thank you. Right. Welcome everyone to the South Wales Fire and Rescue Authority meeting to be held on the Starleaf on Monday the 14th of December 2020 at 10:30. Any apologies?
Chair, Councillor David White will be at the meeting. He's in a scrutiny meeting. He hopes to log on about 11:15, he said, Chair. Okay?
Thank you. Any other apologies? None?
There's apologies from Councillors Ellsbury and Ibrahim, but I'd be grateful if I could just do a roll call because I can't see all of the members.
All right, we'll do the roll call now, but I just wanted any apologies first. We'll do the roll call now then.
Okay, so far I've got Councillor Hodgins, Councillor Shaw, Councillor Davies, Councillor Hussey, Councillor Ali, Councillor Lister. I can't see. Councillor Norton.
Councillor Norton did come into the meeting at about 10:15 and said he's got to go to another meeting, but he'll be back about 11:15.
Okay.
All right, thank you for that.
Councillor Colbrand.
Yes, I'm here.
Here. Councillor Brown's here. Councillor Smith, Spencer, Thomas, Bradwick. Councillor Harries.
I'm here, Sally.
Okay, thank you. And then I've got Councillor Holmes, Roberts, Evans, Jones, Drake and Jarvie.
Right. Are we full with that now?
Yes.
Well, I'm here, Sally. Sally, I'm here. You got me down as present.
Yes.
It's Hunter speaking.
I have you down, Councillor Jarvie.
Hunter Jarvie here.
Yes. Thank you.
Right. And there's no other apologies. Right, declaration of interest. Members of the Fire and Rescue Authority are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare both orally and in writing any personal or prejudicial interest in respect of the matters contained in the agenda in accordance with the provision of the Local Government Act 2000, the Member and Rescue Authorities Standing Orders and the Members' Code of Conduct. Anyone got a declaration of interest? We've already had one indication. And
yes, Chair.
And the indications are that all the RTC should, well, up to them. Are they going to declare an interest on item 5?
Chairman, can I give in a personal interest, Chair, on item 6.6?
6, is it?
Of the item is relating to my home authority. I can take part in the meeting, but I will not be voting on this item, Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else know then?
Yeah, Chairman, can I just say that I'm also a RCT member and the duelling of the 4/9 is in the Llantriston ward.
Thank you.
Also,
any other member?
Jack Harris, same 6.6 is my home authority.
Thank you, Jack.
And Councillor Roberts.
Right. Thank you.
Roberts, same.
Thank you.
6.6.
Anyone else? Anyone else got any declaration of interest or not? Okay, then I go to the chairman's announcements. Can I first of all mention the fact that Chris Barton, his father, died. So I've already had a phone call with Chris. Sadly, he passed away. Can we just have a minute silence, please, in respect to his... Thank you. Chris, condolences obviously from all the members, and do you want to make any comment at all?
No, just to thank members for and officers for their support. It's been a particularly difficult time with him dying of COVID, but it won't be the last. So thank you very much.
Our condolences with you and the family, all right? At this sad time. I'd like to welcome Councillor Glyn Holmes from RTC. I've already done informally, but formally, Glyn, welcome to the fold.
Thank you, Chairman. Delighted to be with you all.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you very much for coming anyway and getting on to it. The youth worker and the workshop apprentice and the chief officer pay award. Members will note that the following, the update of the last FA meeting, that the Grey and Green Book pay awards have been received. These 3 additional pay awards for the youth worker, workshop apprentice, chief officers have been nationally agreed and will be implemented according to the service, by the service. We also, myself and the chief officer, with the chief officers and the chair of the 2 other committees, authorities, held a meeting with the Deputy Minister. Hugh, do you want to make a comment on it? They weren't much all that keen, but Hugh.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Morning, members. Yeah, myself and the Chair and the other chairs and chiefs of across the other 2 services in Wales met with the Deputy Minister and her officials on the 23rd of November. We discussed 3 broad areas, really. The national agreement with the tripartite agreement between the national employers, National Fire Chiefs Council and the Fire Brigade Union, medical response and building safety. Regarding the tripartite agreement, members will be aware that we have been supporting our Welsh Ambulance Service Trust colleagues over the period of COVID in line with the tripartite agreements. Up until that date, for 180 shifts with our ambulance colleagues until then, and I can confirm to members that our support continues in line with national agreements as well. The Cabinet paper on medical response has been presented to the Welsh Government Cabinet, and the Deputy Minister presented back to us that it was met with favourable support. So there is a working group that's been established between NHS Wales, the Welsh Fire and Rescue Services, and Assistant Chief Fire Officer Dewi Rose is our representative on that working group that's developing the ask from NHS Wales on what the longer term support for fire for NHS colleagues could be in the future. And then we discussed the building safety and the building failures that we've got across Wales, particularly across South Wales. And the recent Welsh Government statement on building safety as well. And we recognise the direction of travel in the changing legislation that Welsh Government are introducing around the fire safety order and the built environment regime as well. And I think, Chair, that probably covered it, but happy to take any questions, or if I've missed anything and filled any gaps in, please let me know.
Right. Anyone got any questions? There wasn't much in the the discussion, as Hugh said. None at all?
Yes.
Thank you, Hugh. Thank you.
Yes,
oh, sorry, was it? Louise, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask what the current situation was with regard to the Bevin Health Authority, because, there's reports on Twitter that they've told people to only come to the Grange Hospital if it's urgent. And there's reports of, 10-hour waits for people who've broken an ankle or something. And also somebody in the news reported 19 hours waiting in an ambulance to get into hospital who had COVID. So I just wondered about the practical current assistance for the health board, because I realise that some fire officers have been trained to assist with, the ambulance side. And I just wondered if that was practically operating at the moment. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Brown. The support that we've got to NHS Wales is through the Welsh Ambulance Service. So at present we've got 30 personnel that have been trained and inoculated, and they get deployed as and when requested from the ambulance service. Our direct support for our health boards, we have assisted in Iron Bevan with a command and control structure through COVID in recent months, but we're not there at the moment. Through social media and from other meetings of attending, there is significant pressure across NHS Wales, particularly across the south east part, and certainly the 3 health boards that serve our local our fire authority area as well. But we are continuing to support our health colleagues through the ambulance trust with additional shifts with the trained personnel.
So is it
okay,
sorry,
Louise? Thank you.
Yeah, just don't quite understand whether the ambulance service in that area has requested help, or if you've offered it, or what.
Our support to the ambulance trust goes across the full area that we cover as South Wales. So where individuals would get deployed would be on an ambulance service determination. That wouldn't be for us to determine. I wouldn't get that information until post-deployment, so I wouldn't know what we've deployed over the weekend and where at this particular time. But I'm happy to pick that up outside the meeting with yourself if you wish, Councillor Brown.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve, you wanted to come in?
Tudor, can I ask a question
Sorry.
to Hugh, please?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. Did I hear Hugh mention something about the changes in the legislation to fire precautions, Part B of the approved document, regarding means of escape, travel distance? There was a bit of background noise here.
Yeah, the building regulations will be separate to what the piece of legislation that government are pushing through. So it's an England and Wales piece of legislation, which is the regulatory reform order, the fire safety order. That piece of legislation currently excludes building facades, and there's some question and doubt over the front door of individual flats and apartments. So it introduces clarification around those specific areas. Travel distances and the like will be covered by building regulations, but as you will be aware, Councillor Holmes, they can be changed depending on the engineering solutions that can be introduced into buildings. So the change in legislation is something that the Welsh Government and Central Government are introducing in a period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
thank you. Okay,
thank you, Glenn.
Tudor should declare interest there in a charter survey involved with building regulations, okay?
Okay, if you declare, note that, Sally, please. Right, Steve, you wanted to come in? Steve Broderick.
Oh yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to, this is the first time we've met as a fire authority since your award of being an MBE in the Queen's Birthdays Honours List. I wish, on behalf of everybody, I think it's a fantastic achievement for yourself. It's well deserved. You gave the fire authority 100%, Tudor, and well deserved. Disappointed I didn't get mine, but there we are. You were better than me, so all the best, Tudor. Thank you. Great.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah. I'm hoping that, I expect he is now, that he was blushing there quietly, because as far as I'm concerned, it's a team effort as far as I'm concerned, with the members and with all the officers, with a fantastic service, and I think everyone deserves it. There's no doubt that you will be recommended in the future for the Lords, Steve, because I know you're very happy with being on the Lords. So
that's a local tavern, isn't it?
You'd be higher than me. But anyway, as far as I'm concerned, it's an award for everyone, and I appreciate. Well, I didn't appreciate it, first of all, because when I picked it up on my email in May, and it the Home Office on it, I thought, oh, it's another one of those scams. I looked at it, and they said we recommended for a reward. I rang Hugh next day. I won't say what I said to him, but he told me in certain words, forget it, it's already sorted out. Am I right, Hugh? Hugh?
Words to that effect. I think I said, well done, congratulations, and well deserved, I think, Chair.
And I told you other words which I won't say today, all right? Anyway, thank everyone for that, and it's been an honour to be a member of the Fire Authority since 1999 and the chair since 2012. and with an excellent vice chair as well. And I will make a recommendation for him when the appropriate time comes. Thank you for that anyway. Let's move on to business now. I received the minutes, and the first ones are the minutes of the Fire and Rescue Authority meeting held on the 28th of September on page 5. Would someone move or otherwise?
Move.
Chair.
Second. Seconded?
Second, yeah.
Seconded?
Second.
Yeah, second.
All
Sorry,
agree?
sorry, I lost thing in. Sorry about that. Sorry.
We just dealing with the Fire and Rescue Authority meeting held on the 28th of September 2020 for accuracy on page 5. It's been moved and seconded. No one against it? Thank you. Then we go to the next one, the Finance and Asset Performance Management Scrutiny Committee held on the 13th of January, which seems a lifetime ago, 2020, and that's on page 15. Someone move or otherwise?
Can I move that, Chair?
Second.
Seconded. That's seconded.
Second, Chair.
Second. Yes, seconded.
All agree?
Yes.
Thank you. Then we go to the next one. It's the local pension board meeting held on the 6th of July 2020 on page 21.
I move, Chair.
You're moving it. Val, you're moving it, seconding it. All agree?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Then we go to the H&R Equalities meeting held on the 20th of July 2020 on page 27. So we'll move, please.
Move, Chair.
Seconded. Yeah.
Everyone agree? No one against. Thank you. Then we go to the Finance and Audit Performance Management meeting held on the 21st of September 2020 on page 33. Steve?
Move, Chair.
Yeah, can I second that or move it? Yeah.
Well, it's moved and seconded. All agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Then we go to item 5, which is the update of actions on page 39. Sally?
Yep, the actions are as stated in that brief report. The only update to provide is in relation to the final matter, which was the potential relocation of the New Inn site. Thanks to Councillor Evans for chivying along the planners. We've now received the pre-planning
I'll have to
application.
declare an interest now then, Sal, because you said that.
We've received the pre-planning application advice, so we're working through that to formulate our offer to put forward to the owners of the site.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions or any queries?
No.
No. Thank you for that. Then we go to the reports for decisions. On 6.1, we'll elect a new Labour member within the Local Pension Board Committee for the remainder of the municipal year 2020 to 21, and that's on page 43. Sally?
Yes, this is because Councillor Drake has now taken up the role of chair of the HR and Equalities Committee, so she automatically represents the authority at the pension board meeting with Welsh Government, so can't sit on the local pension board committee. Politically balanced committee, so we're looking for a Labour nomination this morning, please.
Chair, I'd like to move Councillor David White, please.
I second that. Yeah.
That's seconded. Right, Ed. All those in favour, please show.
Yes.
Welcome, David.
Yep.
Chair, unfortunately, I can't see all members, so can I do a vote on that one, please?
Right. Go on then.
Councillor Ali?
In favour.
Councillor Bradwick?
In favour.
Councillor Brown?
In favour.
Councillor Colbrand?
In favour.
Councillor Davies?
In favour.
Councillor Evans?
In favour.
Councillor Drake?
In favour.
Councillor Harries?
In favour.
Councillor Hodgins?
In favour.
Councillor Hussey?
In favour.
Councillor Jarvie?
In favour.
Councillor Jones?
In favour.
Councillor Lister? Councillor Lister? Okay, Councillor Norton. Councillor Norton? No. Councillor Roberts?
In favour, so I was on mute.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roberts?
In favour.
Councillor Holmes?
In favour.
Councillor Shaw?
In favour.
Councillor Smith?
In favour.
Councillor Spencer?
In favour.
Councillor Thomas?
Favour.
Councillor White?
In favour.
And Councillor Williams? Councillor Williams? No, not there either. Okay. Thank you.
That's unanimous then, is it?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Then we go on to item 6.2, Treasury Management Midterm Review Report 2020-21, which is on page 45. Chris?
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be relatively brief on this one. This is the middle of 3 reports we do each year to the Fire Authority on Treasury Management matters. This is a midterm review, so it's just looking at progress this year against the indicators we set at the beginning of the year. The headlines of the report really is that there's been some lower capital activity this year on our capital programme, partly as a result of the circumstances obviously we find ourselves in across the area with regards to the COVID response, but a generally lower level anyway. All the indicators within the report are okay. They're within the limits we set at the beginning of the year. The only thing I wanted to draw members' attention to, which members may have spotted if they've read the report in detail, was on paragraph 4.4. We do indicate that we might be taking some new borrowing this year. Just to reassure members, nothing to worry about in that normal course of Treasury management activity. We do borrow as an authority. We've actually repaid £7 million between 1920 and 2021, so we're kind of significantly down on our debt in that respect. So this is simply replacing some of that borrowing against the capital assets that we finance. With the rates of interest being as low as they are, of course, it's probably a fairly good time to borrow. Obviously locks in these low interest rates going forward. So from that point of view, there's no desperate concern from a budget perspective. That's all I wanted to say on the report, Chair, unless members have got any specific questions in relation to the content.
Anyone got any questions, Chris? No? Can someone move the recommendation 8.1, please?
Move, Chair.
I recommend that, yeah.
Is it seconded?
Yeah, go on then, I will, yeah.
Dolly?
Yep, Councillor Ali. Councillor Ali. Councillor Ali's there, I can see him. Councillor Ali.
In favour.
In favour. Councillor Bradwick.
In favour.
Councillor Brown.
In favour.
Councillor Colbrand.
In favour.
Councillor Davies.
In favour.
Councillor Drake.
In favour.
Councillor Evans.
In favour.
Councillor Harries.
In favour.
Councillor Hodgins.
In favour.
Councillor Hussey.
In favour.
Councillor Jarvie. Councillor Jarvie. No. Councillor Jones.
In favour.
Councillor Lister. Not there either. Councillor Norton.
In favour.
Councillor Roberts.
In favour.
Councillor Shaw.
In favour.
Councillor Smith.
In favour.
Councillor Spencer.
Yes, in favour.
Councillor Thomas.
Favour.
Councillor White. Councillor White had joined. Councillor White.
In favour.
In favour. Councillor Williams. No. Must have left. Okay. Thank you.
Steve Bradwick, will you take this next item, please?
Yes. So, okay, so we're going to item on
6.3.
page on page 51, 6.3. Chris, you doing this one?
Yes, I am. Yep. Chairman, this is a culmination of a series of reports we've taken to the Fire Authority, the FAPM and the Scrutiny Group on budget for next financial year. The previous reports have indicated a potential need for a budget uplift of around 4.3%. And in response to a number of outstanding issues, together with issues raised by members at previous meetings, we've undertaken more work to look at the detail of the budget in certain areas. There are obviously continuing evolving issues as well with regards to the spending review announcements recently by the Chancellor and the ongoing position of COVID, amongst other things. In the report, what we've done is highlighted, rather than the whole issue of the medium-term financial plan again, we've just gone through the areas where we looked again at the budget and really summarised the outcome from that review procedure. And those areas are highlighted in section 4 of the report in each paragraph, but I'll just touch on them in summary now. In respect of pay, we previously indicated there might be a requirement for a 3% increase in the pay budget next year, which is quite a substantial part of our overall budget, of course. You'll all be aware of the Chancellor's recent announcement regarding pay constraint in the public sector for next year, and the indication that he would like to avoid pay increases, with the exception of those on low pay. We have a view that there is a risk in that, a significant risk, particularly in the area that we work with. Clearly, lots of public servants and emergency services in particular are dealing with the COVID situation, and I suspect that there will be significant resistance to a pay constraint arrangement in next year. And for the sake of prudence, therefore, I'm recommending that we actually continue at this stage to include provision for pay awards, particularly against a potential issue of industrial action that could come forward, obviously, if that pay constraint is forced through. With that in mind, we are leaving the 3% uplift on the pay budget within the overall budget position. The better stories really are elsewhere on the budget. On the premises budget, we were looking at a 2.2% increase in budget next year across the whole of the premises area. We've been able to revisit that partially because the Welsh Government has delayed the non-domestic ratings revaluation implications for Wales, but also because we've been able to factor in savings from a number of areas, including energy and building running costs, partly as a result of the new ways of working, but also as a result of the efficiency work that we're undertaking across the estate. We're now reducing that budget by 1.6% next year rather than increasing it. Similarly, in the transport area, we were looking at a 2% increase in budget. We revisited that, and as a part of efficiency, effectiveness of the fleet operations that we've got, together with, again, slightly revised ways of working in the new world, we've been able to remove that provision for inflation on those budgets as well, bring that down to a static, if slightly reduced position. There have been a number of increases and reductions on the supplies and services budgets across the piece. We face some cost increases in a number of areas. It's likely, for instance, that our insurance costs will again go up by more than the average rate of inflation. And we've also had to make provision for some replacement of operational equipment within the supplies budget. However, we've identified savings to offset this in many instances, and therefore we've been able to hold that budget as was. The one thing that I do want to mention on the supplies budget is the ICT position. Members will note we have a report coming up on the agenda shortly on the ICT provision. We did indicate on previous reports that we would need to make a significant budget provision for ICT in the coming year, around about £400,000 a year. We are intending that we will phase in that cost, so we're making a 50% provision for it in next financial year, and then there'll be a consequential 50% provision in the following year. So we've been able to make a small saving on the previously highlighted figures. In the capital financing area, just mentioned that the programme was sort of delayed in the current year for a variety of reasons. We were looking at a 5% increase in capital financing costs next year in the original medium-term financial plan reports, we've been able to actually remove that provision, which has got a significant reduction in the budget across the piece. The overall consequence of that is we've been able to take about £600,000 worth of further savings out of the budget. And the 4.3% that we were previously projecting is now down to an increase of only 3.5%. I say only 3.5%. I appreciate that the constituent authorities will not relish the idea of paying an additional 3.5% towards their fire service colleagues. However, that is the position we currently find ourselves in. We're not aware yet of what the Welsh local government settlement looks like for local authorities. The draft budget is due to be announced in the coming days. The whole process of the Welsh government budget has been delayed this year for reasons which we probably well understand. The other thing which we would normally bring to this meeting for members' attention is the change in population numbers across Wales. Population drives the distribution of the fire service budget amongst the 10 local authorities. We haven't had those population figures yet. They will be announced as part of the draft budget from Welsh Government shortly. But what I have done is looked at the trend within those population numbers, and without being able to indicate specific figures for authorities, we could see that average 3.5% uplift being in the range of 2% to 6% uplift, depending on the authority concerned. Now, what will happen, of course, is those authorities that lose money in the settlement, in the Welsh Local Government settlement, will receive a likely lower increase from the fire authority, and those that benefit from the Welsh Government settlement will see a consequential higher increase from the fire authority. So what we will do with that is when we go out to consultation after this meeting to the local authorities, we won't be able to include specific figures for each authority, but as soon as the Welsh Government budget is released with those numbers in, I will write again to the local authorities to confirm the specific figures for their particular council. So they will have a knowledge of that information at that point. There are a number of risks within the budget which remain as always. Perhaps not unsurprisingly, they are around things like the costs of our COVID response. At the moment, Welsh Government are funding significant amounts of that through grant. We hope that that will continue, as we also hope that their other grant aid for specific projects and work streams that we undertake also will continue next year. There's an assumption in the budget that that is the case. I've already mentioned pay budgets. We have the ongoing issues around pensions and legal claims associated with that. And again, there's a further report on the agenda today, which will go into more detail on the position with regards to the legal challenges around fire pensions. And I've already mentioned, of course, pay awards, and there is the possibility of some sort of backlash from any attempt at pay constraint. So that's the position with regards to the budget itself. I put an indicative budget timetable in section 5 of the report, which just outlines where we go from here. We're intending a consultation period now from today, or as soon as I can get the communications to local authorities, through until the middle of January. There is an FAPM scrutiny group on the 18th of January where we can consider any feedback we've had to date. But as usual, we will accept feedback from the local authorities right up until the date of the Fire and Rescue Authority meeting in February, where the intention is to set the final budget. And that's all I want to say on the budget, Chair, unless any members have got any specific questions on the detail of it.
Chair.
Councillor Norton's indicating, and I think Councillor Bradwick as well.
And Councillor Shaw. So.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you, Chris, for budget reports and really good work. Just one quick ask: can all members be emailed the authorities' population changes once you get the final figures? And are you concerned when it comes to obviously calculating the budgets? A lot of local authorities, some local authorities' prediction growth hasn't happened. So I know there's been some issues around the figures in Cardiff with projecting growth being downscaled in recent years, but obviously that will be taken into account with these figures. But on for that's it on that really. But if you can be emailed for figures, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we'll certainly do that. As soon as the information becomes available, I'll email and copy in all members of the Fire Authority so they've got that up-to-date information. And you will, of course, receive it at future meetings anyway. In terms of the comment regarding Cardiff specifically, without going into detail of individual authorities, without the figures in front of me at this moment in time, the indications were that Cardiff was one of the authorities where significant population projection growth in the past was not materialising as fast as had been projected. And the indications, therefore, is there will be a downward movement in Cardiff's population. The consequence of that, of course, if it happens, is there will be a lower financial settlement for Cardiff from Welsh Government. They will be at the lower end of that, and it's likely, therefore, that they would get a consequential lower increase in their Fire Authority contributions as well. Just to round off that conversation at the other end, for members' interest, the other end of the scale is likely to be the Newport area, where the population increases have been running ahead of projections, and therefore they are likely to receive a better financial settlement next year, and therefore they will be at the higher end of the Fire Authority contributions increase. So the increase follows the Welsh Government settlement. I can't be precise on the numbers yet, obviously, for a number of reasons. A, I don't have the population numbers in front of me, and B, of course, until Welsh Government announced the budget, we don't know what the Minister's intentions are with regards to the local government settlement.
Councillor Bradwick and then Councillor Shaw.
No, I didn't have my hand up, sorry. I was trying to say that Tudor was back, sorry.
Okay.
You're still in charge. Sorry, you're still chairing this one, Steve, because I want you to listen to all the discussion.
Okay.
Councillor Shaw, I had indicating as well.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you, Chris. Another, good report. Thank you very much. It's interesting to see that, as a service, over 80% is people-based costs. So the way that the total cost is managed is applaudable. Yeah, I think the key thing when talking to the local authority really is the message itself. And what you've just told us about the reduction in ask needs to be laid out so they're aware of it. And also the informatics that you from time to time provide about the cost per person, etc., could be very, very useful. I know last time there was some surprise at the ask, if you like, on some local authorities. So the more information we can give them, I think the more sugar-coated the pill will be. Thank you.
Noted, Councillor Shaw.
I can't see that any members wishing to speak on this, so the recommendation is that members agree to report content on the basis of the budget consultation exercises. Do members agree to that, please?
Agree.
Okay, Councillor Ali. Councillor Ali.
In favour.
Councillor Bradwick.
Agree.
Councillor Brown.
In favour.
Councillor Colbrand. Councillor Colbrand. Councillor Colbrand. In favour. Okay, thank you. Councillor Davies, are you abstaining on this one? Councillor
sorry,
Drake.
I'm abstaining, yes.
Councillor Drake's in favour.
Thank you. Councillor Evans.
In favour.
Councillor Harries.
In favour.
Councillor Hodgins.
In favour.
Councillor Hussey.
In favour.
Councillor Jarvie. Councillor Jarvie.
You're on silence now.
Councillor Jarvie, you're on mute. No, we'll come back to Councillor Jarvie. Councillor Jones. Councillor Jones.
In favour.
Councillor Norton.
I agree.
Councillor Holmes.
In favour.
Councillor Roberts.
In favour.
Councillor Shaw.
In favour.
Councillor Smith.
Agree.
Councillor Spencer. Councillor Spencer?
In favour.
Councillor Thomas?
Favour.
Councillor White?
In favour.
Councillor Williams? No. And Councillor Jarvie?
But both Councillor Williams and Jarvie are showing as present, Salva. I'm not sure they're actually...
No, they're on mute. Okay. Thank you.
Right, thank you for that. Right, we go next to the next item is 6.4. Office Productivity Software and Service Projects on page 59. Richie?
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. Historically, as a service, we've purchased on-site, on-premise, perpetual back-end server licenses, which means we have a big capital investment which lasts us for about 5 years, and we try and sweat the asset as much as we can. Our current back-end licenses are nearing the end of their working life. During the pandemic, we've seen different ways of working, as we are today with the Fire Authority, much more video conferencing. And while our support of our IT department has been first class during the last 9 months, I think the over-reliance that we've got now on agile working means we need to change the way we support this. We see a lot more video conferencing used and remote access solutions becoming part of the day-to-day norm of the service. So while we're looking to replace it, we also want to improve our productivity, improve the working conditions for staff, improve how we can collaborate with partners, other agencies, and reduce the impacts of what we do on the environment. But also, the old tech we currently use provides challenges for us in terms of managing the digital side of the business. And obviously, we know the cyber threat that we're facing as an emergency service is increasing. And also, the requirements of information governance is increasing. So what we've done, we've provided a number of options for members with the way forward. And there are 5 principal options. The first one is to do nothing. I don't think this is a viable option because the current support, Microsoft support for our current tools ends shortly. So I would discount that one. We've got an option 2 to continue with on-premise licensing, which means buying it and sweating the assets, which we could do. But what that gives us is a bit of a stop-go approach to developing our IT skills. The next one is an on-premise solution where we get Microsoft to underwrite and provide software assurance. That is a viable option, but again, wouldn't probably deal with all the security issues we have. So I wouldn't recommend that one. The next option is a hybrid model, which means we start to use some of the cloud-based services and some of our on-premise services, which is the option we're going to recommend. And the 5th option is to go full cloud-based now as a service and authority. Again, I think at this point that would probably be too much of a jump, although for members who sit on FAPM, they will see this will come part of our digital strategy going forward. Obviously, it's important to compare the costs of all these different options. And we've narrowed it down to 3. The on-premise licensing, the on-premise with software assurance, and the hybrid model. We can see the 3 separate options are much of a muchness, whereas the on-premise is large capital expenditure. The others are annual expenditure. And as the Treasurer has explained, we put these in the future budget process. We're looking around £450,000 a year revenue. This is a kind of system that you currently probably enjoy within your local authorities. It'll be easier to use. So hence, the recommendations of the report is to support me in moving the authority to a hybrid model for Office Productivity Suite and use cloud-based systems. But also, because of the size of the procurement, for members to endorse this to allow us to procure it through the National Procurement Service Lot 3 Direct Award.
Thank you, Richie.
Okay.
Yeah. Chair, can I just come in on the finance bits before you throw it over to members? Just to clarify in terms of the financial implications, members, indicated in the last report that we were providing a phased approach to this, so we'll be providing the budget provision over a 2-year period, commencing it next year and then carrying on with the rest of it in the following year. I think the important thing for members to recognise from a financial point of view, one of the things that I sort of looked at when we first had this report drafted was whether we could avoid this cost. And I think the key point that I want to get over in terms of the financing of this report is that there is no kind of do nothing scenario. We can't just carry on as we are and not incur additional expenditure. The only question for members really is which model we go with, all of which can contain the same sort of level of cost. And therefore, the best option to move forward from an ICT perspective rather than the least cost option. Okay, Chair?
Thank you, Chris. Any member have any questions?
I've got Councillor White and then Councillor Shaw and then Councillor Brown.
I very much welcome this report. I think we all accept now at the end of the pandemic, which will happen hopefully in 2021, we will be working in a different way, and we will be working in a way that will be more people working from home, we'll be home having meetings via the internet, all that kind of stuff moving forward. I very much welcome the report. I understand some of the jargon that Richard was saying. So are you talking about towards the Teams model?
Yes, Microsoft Teams, yes.
If that's the case, I use it in my work in Swansea. We certainly use it now in Bridgend Council. I fully support it. It's a wonderful project, way of working, and I fully support it. We go forward to Teams.
Thank you.
Right, Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, a couple of questions, if I may. First one isn't facetious. Where is the cloud? And I'll let you think about that whilst I ask question two. I read this report in conjunction with the report that follows it as well, which is absolutely littered with initialisms for different types of software that we use for different purposes. So I should declare I'm a past chartered IT professional, so integration of different systems is always a huge headache. And has that been taken into account with this report?
Okay, so in terms of so where is the cloud? It basically a data server, as I understand it. We have one in Newport. I think the one for Microsoft is somewhere around Reading.
Okay, it's UK
off premise.
I know exactly what cloud means, but the problem is Microsoft hosts most of their cloud infrastructure in America, which, according to the Information Commissioner's Office, is not a safe haven for data. So its location is important.
Yeah, I think it's UK based for us, for Microsoft. I think it's around Reading. They also have, I've been to visit their data warehouses in Newport. Remember the old LG site that was bought and turned into some data housing, and I think that is another place where you can ask for it to be stored as well. In terms of the systems integration, one of the challenges we have now, so for example, using Starleaf as a video conferencing facility, we have a lot of bespoke products.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So in phase in terms of our business information management system. So the idea with going for full Microsoft will give us a pre-integrated suite of productivity software, which would mean it should be easier for us to integrate and to use, and there'll be some sort of hidden savings that aren't mentioned in the report. The other thing it enables us to do is that where we buy the premises and we buy the licenses on a one-off, if we say we have a 5-year product life cycle, we buy the licenses, we spend 18 months implementing them, we then sort of enjoy them for 18 months and we're into the next phase of updating. That's why I think a lot of local authorities and that would have gone for the Microsoft Office suite or 365 to be able to ensure that any development and updates are applied at that time. One of the things in terms of for us as an emergency service with the Civil Contingencies Act is planning for future risks, and cyber terrorism is increasing all the time in terms of risk, and I think it's hit the top 5 risks facing the UK. So being able to go to someone like Microsoft with all their analytical tools around attacks would probably enhance our protection.
Yeah.
The other one is in terms of the old products we use, it's very difficult to do data cleansing and data searching. So the Microsoft tools that we're looking to buy will enhance our provision for that and hopefully enhance our productivity.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said, Richie, and everything in the report is right. See, when you read it in conjunction with the report afterwards, which mentions 999I, Capita in collaboration with West Midlands Fire Service, the on-call duty system, the JFC systems, the BFS to improve our SSRI. It's fabulous reading, but it indicates there's a lot of systems that are outside of the Microsoft family that you will have to integrate with. And as I said, my primary issue, I think, and concern would be the integration of those into any new model. So that has to be taken care of, I suppose, in any planning. I agree with the approach, and of the options offered, I think you're right. Is that the step beyond just replacing the license model that needs to be considered?
Yeah, and like for us, I suppose some of our systems don't necessarily talk across. So some of the stuff from Joint Fire Control and our SSRI, site-specific information, which gives us information on buildings, they're held in separate locations because they're very bespoke to what we do as a fire and rescue service. Yeah. And also they're more subject to greater security than putting things like that in the cloud. And I probably wouldn't put those key critical systems in the cloud because of your initial question, where is the cloud and is it secure? So some of those things, so that's why I think a hybrid approach rather than going full cloud-based would seem an appropriate juncture for us as a service.
Yep.
All
right, Richard.
But now I know I've got an IT professional there as well. We will be able to bounce more stuff off you.
Yeah, it's a big move. That's the point. This is a big move, and I say of the options mentioned, it is the only logical option. But it's those integrations and those interfaces. Simple things like, for usability, really you want a single login, and you can have a single login if you've got many different systems. So it's those peripheral things. Generally, they're the ones that cause the problem, but that's the ones that need most attention when you're changing a model. That's really all I need to say, Richie. All right.
Thank you very much. Councillor Shaw.
Hello.
Chris Williams coming in here. Going back to your point about integrating systems, obviously, whenever I look at an upgrade or an update, we do look at that integration and integration solutions. We use single sign-on to every system that we can at the moment, and we'll continue to do so that people have less passwords to remember, but we still try to make it secure. Going back to the other point about the hybrid solution, I think what I would be considering going forward is each time we look at a system, we will look at where that system lives, whether it's an on-premise solution or if it's a cloud-based solution. And if it's a cloud-based solution, then obviously we'd look at the information governance and security around that solution. So it is a good point that you made.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Chair, I think I had two more members indicating they wanted to speak, Councillor Brown and then Councillor Norton. Can I just remind members to go on mute if they're not speaking, because we're getting some background interruption. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for your report. I just got a question about, the practical use of different methods, because in the County Council we use Microsoft Teams, and obviously this is Starleaf, and then Zoom is used as well. Obviously Zoom has got security issues, so it tends not to be used, but I personally find Microsoft Teams much better than Starleaf, but I don't know how it operates, because occasionally when people have got Microsoft Teams, say for county council reasons on their laptop, I'm not sure whether Microsoft Teams for the fire service could be added to the same, or if there'd be any conflicts on logging in or anything. So just wondered what the situation was there. But I mean, I find Microsoft Teams easier to use. The Starleaf is on my iPad and obviously hasn't got as many functions as Microsoft Teams is. You can raise your hand in Teams, and I just wondered, I mean, this is okay on a temporary basis, but if it, there's going to be, continual meetings in this way, I think it would be better to have a different system myself. I don't know what other members of the Fire Authority think. Okay, thank you. Oh,
Okay,
and I
yeah,
got one.
Councillor
Sorry, I
Brown.
got one other question I forgot to ask, which is basically on page 61. I assume the figures in there should have 3 zeros at the end of it.
Yeah, I wish they didn't have 3 zeros, but they do.
Okay, thank you.
In that one. Yeah, the point you make is excellent. Exactly where we're trying to take the authority and the service around Microsoft Teams as opposed to Starleaf. We've purchased lots of different bits of kit, but going forward, the idea is to bring those into one place through the hybrid model as proposed. So it would be Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know how it integrates with when you've already got that on your own laptop, and if that could be resolved. Because I know that some people, we've had Microsoft Teams on community council meetings, and people who've already got it on their laptop for a work purpose then have problems logging in and so forth. So I'm not quite sure how the two interact if you've got the same system on the same laptop. But, maybe that's just an IT issue. Thank you.
Okay.
Right, who's next, Sally?
Councillor Norton.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. Councillor Brown asked part of the question I was going to ask, and I do welcome a move to Microsoft Teams. Obviously, the report does mention the end goal would be to move to a cloud-based system at some point in the future, ideally. I just wonder if the insurance is, if we obviously decide to go down the hybrid model now, that obviously we're not agreeing to go down to a cloud point decision at the moment, and any decision would have to come back to authority and be voted on in the future, because obviously it would be another significant change if we went to a full cloud-based system in a number of years.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Councillor Norton. Yeah, happy with that. As I said, the proposal is to go to the hybrid system, because we will still need, I think, for as far as I can see, some on-prem solutions as well, because of the different forms of software we're using.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
Chair, also Councillor Hodgins is indicating.
Right. Councillor Hodgins.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I just wondered, like in the report, it refers to the cost of just licensing, etc., etc. Is there going to be any capital infrastructure costs? Because it's a complete change. Like there's data storage rooms, etc. So is there going to be a capital outlay as well for this transition?
Can I'll answer that. In terms of capital costs, the whole point of going to this revenue model is to reduce our capital expenditure, and certainly in going forward, we won't have to purchase additional servers for our data center to put our email on, because obviously that's Microsoft's problem. So our capital infrastructure cost will decrease slightly. So there won't be an increase, it'll be a decrease, but obviously on the services that we will then be purchasing through Microsoft.
Yep, and obviously, I'd respect. Oh, I'm sorry.
Come on, one at a time now. Okay, all right, Wayne.
Oh, okay, I didn't see the gentleman indicate. Okay, sorry.
Go on, Wayne.
Okay. Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry again. Yeah, I appreciate the ongoing costs will sort of decrease, but I just wondered, is there an initial outlay in the to get all this sort of transitioned over? Do you know what I mean? For for people in, etc., etc.
Yeah, I do understand your question. No, there won't be any increase as part of the transition, because of the fact that when we transition, we'll be moving to the Microsoft arena, the cloud, a data center in Reading or the Midlands. And as such, we'll be moving across, but with no additional infrastructure costs, because we won't need to buy any servers to set it up. But you are correct in that in some projects, you do need to put certain servers in place before you can actually make that move.
Yes, and that's correct. Yes, we've done it at work, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, Wayne.
One of the big,
Richard, you want to come back in?
Yeah, one of the big challenges for the authority will be around the data and the amount of data we hold, and going through and cleansing that. But although it's a challenge, it's one of the things we probably need to do as a service, to ensure that we can manage the data and we don't hold data longer than we have to.
Right. Sally, anyone else got any questions?
No one's indicating, no.
I thought someone just put their hand up. Wayne, did you put your hand up again or not? No.
Sorry, did you say me? No.
No, Wayne. I thought Wayne put his hand back,
sorry.
back up. No.
No one's indicating.
Okay. No one else. Then can
I think
someone move, please?
I think Councillor Ali wanted to say something. I think.
Oh,
Chair,
Councillor Ali.
could I ask to Richard, how long we have to keep the data in storage for us, or 5 years or 6 years, or?
I think Councillor Ali. Oh, did you want to come in, Sal?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. The legislation says that we need to keep data for as long as we reasonably require it. So there's certain sets of data where legislation prescribes how long we need to keep it. It might be for the life of the employee, particularly some of the HR data where we can't dispose of it until that individual has passed away or a set period of time has elapsed. There's other data where we may only need to keep it for 6 months or 12 months. So it will depend on the data set, but we've got information management policies in place guiding staff as to how long certain data sets need to be kept.
Okay, Ali. Councillor Ali. Dilwa.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Anyone else know? Right, can someone move recommendation 5.1 and 5.2?
I move it, Chair.
I second.
Seconded. Right, Sally.
Okay, Councillor Ali.
In favour.
Councillor Bradwick.
In favour.
Councillor Brown.
In favour.
Councillor Colbrand is unable to speak at the moment, but he's indicated on the chat function that he's in favour. Councillor Davies.
Agree.
Councillor Drake. Councillor Drake.
Yeah, she's in favour, Sal. She's indicated.
Yeah. Councillor Evans.
In favour.
Councillor Harries.
In favour.
Councillor Hodgins.
In favour.
Councillor Hussey.
In favour.
Councillor Jarvie has left. Councillor Jones. Councillor Jones.
In favour.
Councillor Lister's not on. Councillor Norton.
In favour.
Councillor Roberts.
In favour.
Councillor Shaw.
In favour.
Councillor Smith.
Support.
Councillor Spencer.
In favour.
Councillor Thomas.
In favour.
Councillor White.
In favour.
Councillor Williams.
Again, still there,
No.
Sal.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's unanimous. Thank you.
Could you put your microphones off, please? Someone in the background in there. Okay, then we go to item 6.5, legal challenge to the 2015 pension reform, page 81. Welcome, Alison.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, members. Right, so this paper provides members with a situation report in terms of the MacLeod Sergeant judgment. This followed a successful legal challenge brought by the Fire Brigades Union in relation to discrimination. We're asking that members note the background to the MacLeod Sergeant judgment, note the current position with regards to the remedy, and acknowledge the potential costs as alluded to earlier by Chris Barton. The paper gives a little bit of background in terms of the journey on pensions and the age discrimination element. So you'll recall that back in 2011, Lord Hutton introduced new pension reforms. These reforms included a change to retirement ages and the introduction of career average schemes. These reforms introduce an element of protection. So people who were aged 55 by 31st March 2022 were afforded protection. This, as I mentioned, was age-related. And in 2018, so nigh on 2 years ago now, there was a High Court ruling around the introduction of these reforms, which confirmed that these were age discriminatory. So in July of this year, Treasury issued a consultation document which set out proposals for reform. Fire Authority members all contributed to the employer's response that we sent in, and that was submitted on the 11th of October of this year. So where are we now in terms of the remedy? The High Court ruling stated that there were a number of people who were in something called immediate detriment. So those people who are those who could retire now, or are those who have gone through an ill health retirement. And the judgment stated that we should put those right. So members who were eligible could be put back into their correct scheme, if that makes sense, without any age discriminatory element. However, one aspect of the High Court discussion and debate was whether fire and rescue authorities have the legal powers to implement the outcome of that ruling. There is a case that's being heard mid-December, so around now, that will determine whether FRAs have the legal power to introduce the remedy, so the High Court ruling around age discrimination. So we're waiting to hear at the moment, which is why this paper is a situation report, what the outcome of that hearing is. So does the Fire and Rescue Authority have the power to introduce and implement the remedy to the age discrimination case? We haven't had news quite yet, but in the meantime, we have been talking to other fire and rescue services in Wales to agree our implementation phase and to look at some cost modelling. And we've also been talking to Welsh Government around all of this and what the future looks like, because part of the Treasury's consultation was looking at the new pension schemes that are likely to come in 2022. So that's the situation report that we have for you today, which is broadly, to share with you where we are. We're awaiting news on the latest hearing around powers, and then we will move toward implementation, and that's as far as we've got.
Thank you, Alison. Much obliged to you. Councillor Bradwick, Chair of the Pension Committee, any comments?
No, Chair, I haven't at all, Chair, on this. I fully agree with everything what Alison has said.
Thank you. Anyone else want to make any comments? Obviously, we're in the hands of someone else at the moment, so...
Yeah, exactly.
If not, then
no
could...
one,
no one at all?
No one's
Right,
indicating, no, Chair.
Right. Could I then move recommendations 7.1, 7.2 and 7.3? Is that seconded?
Yes.
Yes, Chair. Well.
Yeah.
Sally?
Okay, Councillor Ali?
In favour.
Councillor Bradwick?
In favour.
Councillor Brown?
In favour.
Councillor Colbrand, who has also indicated he's in favour. Councillor Davies?
In favour.
Councillor Drake? Councillor Drake? In favour. Councillor Evans?
In favour.
Councillor Harries?
In favour.
Councillor Hodgins?
In favour.
Councillor Hussey?
In favour.
Councillor Jones?
Yeah. Put me hook at the moment. I'm in a Zoom
Councillor
meeting.
Jones?
Oh, is it possible, please? Oh, thank you.
Councillor Holmes, can you just mute a minute, please? Councillor Norton.
In favour.
Councillor Holmes.
Sorry about that. Telephone went. Yes, all agreed.
Councillor Roberts.
In favour.
Councillor Shaw.
In favour.
Councillor Smith.
Support.
Councillor Spencer. Councillor Spencer.
Yes, in favour.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas.
In favour.
Councillor White.
In favour.
And is Councillor Williams back with us or no? Okay, that's unanimous.
Thank you. That's carried, right. Now we go to item 6.6. Sally.
Yes, thank you,
Page
Chair.
85. Page 85.
For members' information, Rhondda and Taff Council are looking at dualling the A4119 from the Royal Glamorgan roundabout up through the valley. As part of that dualling exercise, they obviously need to acquire additional rights and interests in various strips of land adjoining the highway, and obviously the Fire Authority own land adjoining the A4119. The council are looking to make a compulsory purchase order, although my understanding is that order hasn't as yet been made. But the council have started discussions with the authority on acquiring sections of land as indicated in the plan on page 87 of your report. The land actually falls outside of the physical boundary of the site, but is still within the legal ownership of the authority. And the area that obviously is of most concern to us is the area that is just before the barriers to the entrance to headquarters. So the report asks for delegated authority for me to continue with consultations with Rhondda and Taff and put an appropriate response in to protect the authority's interests on behalf of the Fire Authority. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Sally. I think it's straightforward. No one can ask any questions. Therefore, I will move the recommendation 6.1. Is that seconded?
Councillor Brown's indicating.
Yeah, seconded.
Councillor Brown wanted to come in a bit later, didn't he?
Yeah, I think the main concern is around 20B. Because of it seems to be that area of land seems to be very close to buildings and also to the access as well. I just wondered how far it was from the edge of that building, because it looks 20B looks very close. Because obviously. And you'd have to have an easement over that and things like that. So, is that being so close to that building? I mean, is it just sort of extending the roundabout or what?
Yeah, Councillor Brown, that's not a building, it's adjoining. That's the car park.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah,
right,
so it's
okay.
just before the entrance barriers to headquarters, and then the grass verge. But that you can see the parking spaces built into the area highlighted. The building is actually in
further back. Yeah, that's
normal
fair
font.
enough. Yeah, I couldn't. Obviously from the squares it wasn't clear whether that was any building, but if it's the car park, that seems fine. But is there sort of there's not going to be any access problems as a result, are there?
There shouldn't be, but that's one of the areas I'm looking to get some delegated authority to agree the requisite proposals with Rhondda and Taff to protect the authority's interests.
And who would maintain it is another question.
If it became adopted highway, then it would be the responsibility of the highway authority to maintain.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the only problem there would be is if you feel it needs maintaining and it's part of the access. and it isn't maintained to the level that you want, that's one of the issues, isn't it? Because of it'll be dependent on another. So I suppose it's really to make sure that the terms on the access and maintenance are good, really, on any CPO, really.
Yes,
Well,
I think the first understanding is to try and assess whether that they actually need to acquire that section or just have rights over it for construction purposes. So these are all the discussions that we need to have with RCT.
Yeah,
I'm sure Sally will be doing everything to protect our interests. So I got no concerns about that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Sally, please.
Yep. Councillor Alley.
In favour.
Councillor Bradwick.
I'll abstain on this one, Sally.
Yep, sorry. Councillor Brown.
In favour.
Councillor Colbrand. Councillor Colbrand's indicated he's in favour. Councillor Davies.
In favour.
Councillor Drake. Councillor Drake.
Yeah, Councillor Drake's okay.
Councillor Evans.
In favour.
Harries is abstaining. Councillor Hodgins. Councillor Hodgins.
Yeah, if I just get some clarity, so we're giving yourself some delegated powers and also the sort of Nick Corrigan, the head of property services, because the two would align, wouldn't they?
Nick works within my directorate.
Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, I'm in favour, that's fine, okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Hussey.
In favour.
Councillor Jarvie has left. Councillor Jones. Councillor Jones. In favour.
In favour.
Councillor Norton.
Yes, in favour.
Councillor Roberts is abstaining. Councillor Shaw.
In favour.
Councillor Holmes is abstaining. Councillor Smith.
Support.
Councillor Spencer. Councillor Spencer. Councillor Spencer must have gone.
Oh, he's still there still. He's
He's
okay.
still there.
In favour, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Thomas.
In favour.
Councillor White.
In favour.
And is Councillor Williams back with us? No.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bradwick, will you take 7.1, please?
Yes, okay, yep. Okay, members, we're going to page 71. Who's taking this, Dewey, or is it Dewey?
This is going to be a two-pronged approach. So if I take the first half of the report on the strategic themes, and then Dowie will take the second half on the performance metrics.
Okay, thank you so much, thank you.
So the first part of the report, members, is looking at performance against your 8 strategic themes. The report's up until the end of Q2, so up until the end of September. You've got a very detailed commentary, pages 96 to 110, of all the different work streams that are being undertaken against each strategic theme. I don't propose to go through those in detail because you will all have read them, but you will note that obviously there have been some delays and some pieces of work postponed due to COVID, which was to be expected. And certainly the team are undertaking a review of the various strategic theme actions to see whether any need to be amended or different timescales put on them as a consequence of the COVID work that we've undertaken. So that was all I was proposing to say on the strategic theme elements. So would it make sense, Chair, to take any questions on that first half of the report before Dowie comes in on the performance metrics.
Yes, please. Sorry, I can see Councillor Rod is
Councillor Shaw has got his hand up.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you, Sally. It is a very, very good report, but this is the one I was referring to when we were talking about systems, because if you look on 1.2, the last line says, the infrastructure needed to deliver remote working is not in place. Then on 1.3, been unable to undertake trend analysis. And then on 1.6, JFC systems are to work with BFS. 2.1, continue to seek improvements and advances in technology to support the use of intelligent mobilization. And JFC have been unable to progress maximising the use of geospatial tools to assist caller location. Those are the bits I had concern about when we're talking about changing our model. So I just thought I'd point out what I was referring to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. I can't see anyone else indicating on that first part of the report. So shall I hand over to Dowie?
Yes, by all means, Sally. Yes.
Morning, Steve. Morning, members. Just to go through the performance monitoring report, I just want to give a brief overview. And as members will see from reading the report, you can be seeing that COVID has influenced the performance and some of the incidents we've attended. I think noteworthy for you and as a service is on the introduction in page 112 to 113 is the changes we've made as a service to ensure we deliver the services to our communities through this pandemic. Our home safety checks have continued in a variety of ways using our community safety practitioners and station personnel. So we've done a modified approach to ensure that the most vulnerable in our communities have home safety checks through COVID. Business fire safety audits have continued as well, some remotely, and particularly with the most high-risk audits where we have high-rise living. Our business fire safety team have been particularly proactive in ensuring there's no drop in performance in the service we offer to the people living in high-rise premises. We've recommenced a lot of our education and youth intervention work. We've got a revised Phoenix programme that we've commenced, and we've made a decision to revise our firefighter cadet programme, where all our 12 branches, as from January, will have new firefighter cadets. We are limited to 10 in each branch. However, they will do the complete award and come through their firefighter cadet programme with an award at the end of that period. Moving on to the performance page and the pie diagram on page 115. As you can see, a very pleasing illustration of the performance of the service. As I said, a lot of it, it will be seen that COVID has impact on some of it. RTC reductions particularly, we've seen them reduced due to the lack of movements of people because of working from home. So that had a positive influences in reducing the number of RTCs. Conversely, when we look at the number of special service calls we've attended, we have attended more, particularly in assistance with the ambulance in bariatric patients. So these are people that need assistance to be removed or helped assisted from their home to hospital. And this seems that is changing behaviours due to COVID, and we've had an increase in this. You will also see there is one of the indicators that show in red that we did have an increase above our target was total false alarms. And again, this is predominantly a change of behaviours where we've seen an increase in the number of grass fires and refuse fires. And we believe this may be people burning their refuse and their home waste at home because of COVID and the unavailability of public amenity sites. And as I said before, business fire safety
team have continued to do their work and working to reduce the number of false alarms in business premises. And as we also continue to work with the health boards, they are one of the major contributors to the number of accidental alarm activations we have, and these are reducing overall, and we're doing good work with all the health boards. So as you can see from there, we have 5 indicators on page 115, 5 indicators are green, 1 is red, the total false alarms attended, and the other is amber, which is the percentage of dwelling fires confined to the room of origin. And for new members, this is a really difficult performance indicator to influence, and it has hovered between 85%. Moving over, the following pages gives a breakdown of those indicators for members to read, and then on page 120 to the remainder of the report gives a breakdown for each unitary authority area. So happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Dewi, for that excellent report, as always. So I can see a couple of hands going up. Councillor Spencer?
Councillor Spencer, you're on mute.
I'm not.
Oh.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah?
We can hear you now. Yeah, we can hear you, Mark. Yeah,
okay. Right, thanks. I was just wondering, with the deliberate fires and false alarms, I was just wondering what, if we've had any success rates on prosecutions.
We certainly, early on in the year, I believe, I'm not sure if people have been prosecuted. The police do assist us where they can on taking action against people that they believe have committed. I'm not sure if Councillor Spencer lost his signal.
No,
he's okay.
He's just turned his camera off.
Okay. The police do assist us where they can. I'm unaware of any prosecutions to date.
Okay, thank you.
Going back to the dwelling of room of origin, as you said, Dewey, this is a nightmare. I totally disagree with this one. I know, how can you say things like this? You know, we're fighting a losing battle on this one anyway. So I commend the report. It's excellent.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair.
Anybody else want to come in on this one? Oh, the Chairman, Tudor.
Chairman.
Yeah, and of course we'll send off the all the authorities' figures, won't we? Now after this meeting, Sally.
Yes, they'll go to each individual member.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Chair. Yes.
Okay. Well, two great minds think the same.
So I'm looking for the recommendation here. So
these are for information.
What's for information?
Chair, these are for information.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yes. Thank you so much. So members, just move on. Chair, do you want to take over now?
Yeah, go back now.
Yeah.
I don't want to overtire you.
We're on 131, yeah.
We're on 7.2, which is Independent Remuneration Panel for the Wales Draft Annual Report, February 2021. Yeah. Sally, page 131.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. This is for members' information to advise them that the draft Independent Remuneration Panel report has been published on their website. You'll see that they're recommending a nominal uplift in member salaries by 2.5%. Probably the biggest area that they've been undertaking work on recently is in relation to carers' allowances, which members will be aware they can claim up to £403 a month for additional costs that enable them to undertake their work as a fire authority or local authority member. They have put a provision in this new draft report that hasn't previously been in, that care costs cannot be paid to someone who is part of the member's household. I have sought some clarification on what they mean by that, and their early indications suggest that that means an individual who's living in the same house as a member, but they have stated that they're going to wait till all the consultation responses come in and consider that issue further, because I said we do need some clarity on what that means. So this is more for information report for members.
Anyway, well, who wants to speak?
Councillor Brown wants to come in.
Councillor Brown.
Yeah, thank you. What's said on this report in page 147 at the top and 148 doesn't actually really make sense, because it, as you've just said, it says, for clarification, care costs cannot be paid to someone who is part of a member's household. And then it says at 10.2, which seems to totally contradict what's been said, it says, the panel believes that additional costs of care required to carry out approved duties should not deter any individual from becoming and remaining a member of an authority or limit their ability to carry out the role. Now, you know, if you've got either, I mean, I'm not in a position where I've got any of these costs, you know, so I'm speaking in a sort of an unprejudiced way. But I mean, if you've either got young children that need some form of care, or you've got an elderly relative with you who's got dementia and can't be left and things like that, that would actually curtail your ability to attend meetings if you didn't have any assistance. So I can't see that this is a particularly good proposal that's being put forward because of those particular issues, because I do know somebody whose partner has got dementia, and basically they either have difficulty in attending meetings at all, or if they do attend meetings, they attend meetings somewhat late because of the fact that they've got to care for their partner who's got dementia, which is difficult. And unless they have some support, if they wanted to partake fully, they can't.
No, I think, Councillor Brown, you are able to claim for someone who lives in the same household as you, but what isn't allowed, so say for example there's husband and wife living in the same house caring for an elderly father, you wouldn't be able to pay, say the wife was the councillor, you wouldn't be able to pay the husband to look after the father. You would have to get outside carers in to look after the father to enable the wife to undertake their duties.
Oh, I see.
So it's the person who's doing the caring that can't be in the same household. It's basically to stop children or spouses or something being paid to do that role.
I think it needs rewording then, doesn't it, to make that particularly clear, because it's not clear from what's said here.
I think that's been the case for all the time, Sally, hasn't it? If my memory serves me correctly, in it or not?
No, it hasn't been. It hasn't said previously that you can't pay someone who lives in the same house as you to do the caring, which is, I think, why this issue has cropped up.
I see. Well, that's fair enough then. But I mean, I don't think it's worded well enough to make that clear. But thank you.
Well, we haven't worded it, have we? They have, isn't it? And
anyway, that's the report now. Anyone else want to? I mean, you've all been through this anyway, as you know, in other areas. So, but we're dealing with the fire authority today. So, I move we note that report. Is that seconded?
Second. Yes, I would second that, Chair.
Yeah.
We don't need a vote on this, Sally, do we?
No, that's just for information. There's no decision.
Yes, that's right. Then we go on to 7.3, forward work program for the Fire Authority, 2020-21. Sally, on page 171.
Chairman, that's all on course. You've obviously got 2 meetings left of the municipal year, so we're on schedule to complete the work programme.
Okay. Anyone got any questions on that? No. That's the end. Sally, can we now stop the recording then now, because we finished the meeting?